I'm not really sure between these two. Wow, Hector, really? How loud are we gonna be in there? My gosh, what are you cleaning? Hello everyone, welcome back to the Take Care Man channel. If this is your first time, welcome. My name is Todd and my goal on this channel is to equip men to take better care of themselves. So if you've watched the channel recently, I made 3 shave videos where I compared 2 different Aqua Velva products, or Aqua Velva, depending on how you'd like to pronounce it. And I told you I would come back and give you a summary of my conclusions from using all of those products. I really find reviews to be helpful when selecting traditional shaving products, and I really like those that cover the entire line of products. So I can kind of know, okay, which one of these might be the best one to try out first. And I wish there had been a lot more of these types of videos when I first started wet shaving. There were a lot of them, but I wish there had been more of this type. And so that's why I make this, to try to be more helpful to those of you that want to select a particular product from a given product line. Now keep in mind, these selections are around my preferences, and I've given a lot of preference to scent, to the safety of the ingredients, and of course to the performance of the aftershave. Now some of these selections will be very different than your own. Now if you look at the lineup I have here, you can pause the video, put your preference down in the comments. Tell me which one would be your favorite and which one would be your least favorite. You could also make a prediction about which one I'm gonna put on top and maybe which one I'm gonna put at the bottom. I gotta tell you that my predictions of where these would fall out when I got through with the review process is a bit different from where they ended up. So now this first one is going to be controversial. We're gonna start at the bottom. We're gonna start at 6 and work our way to the top. This one surprised me that I put it at number 6. And the reason why is that I've started going through the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 challenge videos. I started that challenge back in the beginning of January. So many people have done that video, and I've started going through and compiling the results because I want to do a video where I compile those results. Something that showed up quite a bit on that video was the Aqua Velva Sensitive 5-in-1 Balm. I tried this and thought I would love it. I thought it would end up higher up in the ratings, but I'm putting it at number 6. So part of what Aqua Velva says about this product is that it has skin-friendly ingredients to address 5 signs of sensitive skin, and has been proven to provide superior all-day moisture than the leading sensitive balm. It doesn't say on the website which sensitive balm they compared it to or what type of research they did. If you're going to put that kind of claim on your website, I think you need to offer a link that talks about how you did that comparison and came to that conclusion. It also says on the front of the aftershave that it is lightly scented. I actually found it to not be lightly scented. I found it to be actually medium to strong type of scent. Which is completely fine. It has a pleasant scent, as we'll talk about in just a second, but I don't think it lives up to the lightly scented part. It says lightly scented probably because they're trying to convince you even more that it's a sensitive balm. But if it was a sensitive balm, then it would completely be unscented, in my mind. If they were really trying to make it as sensitive as possible, they would leave out any additional added fragrances, which they haven't. It does include fragrances. Now, it earns a Environmental Working Group Skin Deep score of 6. Now keep in mind on that, in that database, that the lower the score, the better, meaning the less harmful contents that it has, and the higher the score, the worse it is. And 6 is kind of, moderate. And I did this through the build your own process, meaning not all products are listed in their database, but they do have a link where you can click build your own. You can put in the ingredients from the product you're trying to look at and determine whether it's safe or not, and it ends up rendering a score for you. Now it does have additional skin food properties compared to the splashes, including things like jojoba oil, which is good. It also has sodium benzoate, which is a preservative. And while it's just a level 3 on the continuum of Skin Deep databases ingredients, it is a preservative and is in this sensitive balm. To me, they would have left out any preservatives if they were really focusing on making a sensitive balm. However, I'm not an artisan. I don't know anything about making grooming products, and so I'm not sure to what extent preservatives are actually needed to make this have even a decent shelf life. Now, the characteristic of this balm that made it lower on my list is that it is scented. Now, I don't mind scented products, as you'll see as I get into these other scented splashes. But if you're going to say this is a sensitive balm and it's lightly scented, then why would you add a scent? When you look at the Skin Deep database, what you see is that the fragrances tend to be the most problematic ingredient in products. Now, not everyone's going to be allergic to a fragrance ingredient. Not everyone's going to have a reaction to it. But still, if you're trying to play it safe and make it a sensitive and lightly scented balm, then why not just leave it unscented, meaning you're not adding any additional fragrance, you just has the scent of the ingredients that are already in the product. Now, what I found is this was not lightly scented. It was more medium, and almost medium strong scented. It had a vanilla, powdery, a little bit of amber type note in there. You did have some like green notes coming through, sort of as an undertone, but overall I got a vanilla, powdery, slightly sweet scent from this balm. It was slightly cooling. In fact, I almost thought that there would be menthol in this product, but as I looked at the ingredients, there's not any menthol, but it does have a slight cooling effect. And for me, there's just better balm options in terms of performance out there. And I really prefer unscented balms, or either balms that are matching the aftershave splash I've used or the soap I've used. And you really don't want the balm to be something that's going to clash if you're going to wear fragrance that day. So I prefer unscented balms or balms that are matching the aftershave splash or the fragrance I've selected for the day. Now, the final problem I have with this product is that it says it's 5-in-1. And to me, it's really more like 4-in-1 or 3-in-1. While these 5 properties are supposed to be things that are going to address sensitive skin issues, I really only find 3 of those to be actual properties. It says it's non-burning, which to me means more that it's just not going to feel like it's burning, which does not necessarily equate to that it's not causing any kind of problems for you. And when it says it helps to prevent bumps and also helps prevent ingrown hairs, to me those are really similar problems, if not the same at times. And so I don't really see that as 2 different properties. So I know a lot of you love this product, and I'm not saying it's a bad product. I'm just saying out of these 6, this would be my least favorite. So coming in at number 5 is a product that I do not have a full bottle of, but I do have a sample bottle that was sent to me by my friend KJ, a link to his channel down in the description below. And he really loves this scent. I found a post he did on Badger and Blade a few years ago about this aftershave, and he really loves it. He describes it as a fougere, and many do describe it as a fougere. When you look on Fragrantica, they describe it as an aromatic fougere. Now, if you're not familiar with Fragrantica, it is a place for fragrance enthusiasts to go and talk about fragrances and talk about which notes they get out of it, the performance, and whether or not they like the fragrance. And 4 of these 6 products were listed on Fragrantica, which kind of surprised me, because usually aftershave products that don't have an EDT or an EDP complement are not listed. So I was really pleased to see at least 4 of these listed. Now, Fragrantica characterizes this not just as an aromatic fougere, but as having green, citrus, woody, aromatic, and fresh spicy notes, and also some slight floral notes according to users at Fragrantica. In many places you'll see people comment that this smells a lot like Irish Spring soap. And as I said, my friend KJ loves this. He sees it as very much a fougere, as the folks on Fragrantica do. You can see the link below to his post where he talks more about his love for this splash. Now, I had to use the Build Your Own Skin Deep score with this as well, entering the ingredients, and it came out to a 7, which is a bit higher on the list. And that was something that was disappointing to me about at least 3 of these products, was how high their Skin Deep score was. Again, higher scores with Skin Deep is not a good thing. You want lower scores. And this is going to be true in a lot of these products, but it contained this chemical I'm not going to try to pronounce, but it's an anti-UV chemical. So it is there to basically prevent damage from UV light to the products. Now, since I don't have the original Sport, I'm just going to hold up the Ice Sport to say I would prefer that they would put these in opaque bottles instead of transparent bottles if they're concerned about UV damage. I know they're trying to prolong the shelf life of these products, but to me it would be nice if it just had like a clear window on the side, maybe a thin sliver there where you could see the remaining aftershave you have. But to just put it in an all transparent bottle, while it may look nice and may resemble glass, to me it would necessitate putting an anti-UV product in there, and I would prefer they just leave that out and give us a different packaging. Some people have reactions to particular color additives, so I would prefer that they would just leave those out as well. Now, I wish I had the same fougere impressions that KJ did, and again, the scent is highly subjective, and people's noses are different. They like different things, they smell different things. Some noses are more refined, and they have a more refined palate, and mine is certainly probably at the lower end of the spectrum in terms of appreciating different fragrances. But to me, this reminded me of mouthwash. Now, it might not have helped that it was green, but it had a minty scent to it. And I don't mean a peppermint scent. I would have liked it if it smelled more like a pure peppermint, but it was more of a sweet mint, kind of a mouthwashy mint. It did have some green notes, but it was mostly synthetic smelling to me and very soapy smelling as it started to dry down. But yeah, it just reminded me of mouthwash right out of the gate. Now it does have a little bit of resemblance to Skin Bracer by Menon, which is a product that I love, but this just leaned too much to the mouthwash direction for me. Now it is a clean and fresh scent, which could also be said about your breath after you use mouthwash, but it is a pleasant scent. It's not off-putting in any way. It's just not something I expected out of an aftershave. That said, it is a bit different than what I find to be out there on the market. Now it does have a medium to strong scent. It's particularly strong, as most fragrances are when you first put it on. However, it does get more subdued and dry down to a bit more of things that lean towards fougere, but I still get that overall mouthwash feel myself. It does have moderate menthol. It may be the second most mentholated in terms of face feel of these products. For number 4, I am choosing the Aqua Velva Ice Sport Cooling Aftershave, and you notice it says on the label vitamin enriched. So this is part of what they're pitching this particular aftershave to include is vitamins, and it does in fact include vitamin E and provitamin B5. Now, according to Aqua Velva, this is a clean, fresh scent that cools, tones, and refreshes skin. It is classified on Fragrantica as an aromatic aquatic with fresh, aquatic, fruity, citrus, metallic properties. And they also include the notes of red berries and leather on the scent notes. Now, I've got to tell you, while I might have detected some berries, I don't really detect that much leather in this. And users there do in fact say that it's aquatic, has berry notes, citrus notes, and even metallic notes. Now, many compare the scent of this to Davidoff's Cool Water, and I agree it does smell very similar to Cool Water. I'm not particularly fond of that fragrance. I do like Green Irish Tweed, but I find Cool Water to be quite a bit different than that fragrance. And so this is not akin to a fragrance that I like. However, if you like Davidoff's Cool Water, you might like this fragrance. Now, the thing that this has going for it is that it has the lowest Skin Deep database score among this lineup of 6 aftershaves. So this is the safest product to use of these 6. It came in with a score of 4. Now, it does have that same anti-UV light chemical in here. It also has some coloring, but it does have the vitamin E and the B5 additives here. So this would even be a safer aftershave if they put it in an opaque bottle and left out the artificial colorings. Now, this one did have quite a bit of alcohol burn when I first put it on. It has a mild to medium scent, but it goes to mild really, really quickly. This is the weakest of the scents as far as I'm concerned, not necessarily in the preference of scent, but in the strength. But I just particularly, felt that this was weak. Now, another one of the disappointing things about this aftershave was that with a name like Ice Sport, you would assume that it's going to be mentholated. But I got very little menthol with this. Even though menthol is an ingredient, it is pretty weak, and I was shocked with that. I thought it would be much stronger menthol because I had used some of the other aftershaves before that, and I thought of the lineup with a name like Ice, this would be the most mentholated product, and it's just not. Now, if you watch that video, you'll know that the first scent impression I got was corn tortilla chips, which is kind of strange, but that's what it smelled like to me when I first smelled it. That's just an honest reaction. But I overall would describe it as clean and green and has a sharp scent to it. Surprisingly, it had perhaps the tackiest face feel of all these products. I thought maybe the Balm would, or there's another product I'll mention in a little bit that felt a bit tacky and caused some problems with my skin. But this one felt the tackiest to the touch after applying it. Now, after 30 minutes on skin, this scent is gone. But what I will say as another positive thing about this product that I like, even though it's transparent and it's plastic, I really do like the shape of this bottle. I like the design of it. I think it's really unique. It makes it almost look like glass from a distance, but I also like the designs that are cut in there. I just think it's a really unique bottle design, and really like that. All right, coming in at number 3, a product that I thought would be a bit higher up in my lineup, but it has come out at number 3, is the Spanish version of Aqua Velva, the Williams Expert Aftershave Aqua Velva Lotion. Keep in mind, in European countries, they use the term lotion for what we would call splashes here in the US. And I thought this was going to be much higher for me. I really wanted this to be higher because I thought, it's much more difficult to get. You have to pay more money for it to get it in the US. But what is said about this on the product descriptions, both at Small Flower and at Maggard's, and I'll put links to those websites below. It says it firms, tones, and refreshes your skin. It has the cooling menthol of the original, but a more refined masculine fragrance. And I agree, it is a more refined masculine fragrance than compared to these other scents in the lineup, which we'll get to. It's listed as having top notes of bergamot, lavender, peppermint, petitgrain, lemon, with heart notes of clary sage, jasmine, vetiver, sandalwood, cedarwood, and then base notes of labdanum, musk, amber, moss, and leather. Now, using the Build Your Own feature on the Environmental Working Group's Skin Deep database, this came out with a score of 7, which is much higher in the list. I actually assumed that products coming from European countries, where they often have more restrictions on cosmetics, would have a much lower score. But this had was tied with 2 other of the aftershaves with high scores. Now, this one contains coumarin, which is actually a chemical compound that's in tonka beans. And there were several ingredients in this that were listed separate from the fragrance, that when I looked at their purposes in the database, they were listed as fragrance ingredients. So there has been some toxicity associated with coumarin, but it's pretty low because most of the doses we're exposed to in products are so low that they really probably don't have a cumulative effect on us. But you can read a bit more on coumarin if you like. I'll put a link down in the description. Now, surprisingly, this one had more ingredients than the other splashes. I think probably the Sensitive 5-in-1 has the most ingredients, but this would be the second most ingredients. You can see the ingredients through the back of the label here. And it is a glass bottle, very nice. I love this top. I love how solid this feels. Now, this was probably either the second or tied for the second most mentholated product. It did have a good cooling face feel at the beginning. Now, there is castrol in this, and it's actually hydrogenated castrol, and it made my face feel pretty tacky after putting it on. And I noticed the next day that on that side of my face where I used this, that I had some clogged pores. I had some ingrown hairs starting there. So while the use of the oil is welcomed as a skin food, I'm not sure how quality castrol is in terms of a skin food. It may be very, very high as far as I know. But I just know on that side of my face I had more skin problems from having clogged type pores. Now, it could have been just that side of my face and had nothing to do with the fact that this was on that side of my face and another splash was then on the other side. But because there's oil in it, I have to wonder if that might not have been a contributing factor. Now, there's some other websites out there that say this has more skin food properties than the US splashes. And honestly, as I looked at the ingredients, I didn't find that to be true other than the castor oil. Now, there may be some ingredient in here I'm missing just because I don't know anything about some of the ingredients that are considered skin foods. But when I looked up the purposes of all these ingredients on this label, castor oil is the only one I found that could be considered a skin food. Now, this is very similar in scent to the classic Ice Blue, but it's also bit different. This one has a more refined, well-blended type of scent to it. It's more subtle from a fragrance perspective, and you just don't detect as many individual notes. It seems like a more well-blended fragrance. That said, it's not as strong as a scent as the Ice Blue, both in its strength when you first put it on and also in its longevity. The classic Ice Blue lasts much longer. The classic Ice Blue also has a stronger and more spicy scent to it than does this version. It is more expensive to get than these alternatives, at least in the US, so that's definitely a bit of a drawback for this product. Now, coming in at number 2 is a product I predicted that would be number 1, and that is the Aqua Velva Musk. I really love the scent of this, but there are some things I found out about it that made it a bit more disappointing to me, and so it slipped from my number 1 position where I thought it would be to number 2. Now, notice on the bottle, it's actually described as an aftershave cologne, and that is how it's described on the Aqua Velva website. This is described as a sexy, masculine, powerful. The long-lasting scent of Aqua Velva Musk has both the skin benefits of aftershave and the magnetic scent of a cologne. So this is designed to be strong enough to be worn as a cologne and not just as an aftershave. And the scent on it does last quite a while, and it's a very strong scent. Now, the notes mentioned on Fragrantica are woody, floral musk with powdery, musky leather, tobacco, citrus notes. And when you use the build your own feature on the Skin Deep database, this comes out with a 7. Now, I gotta admit, my heart kind of sank when I saw this score of 7. In fact, I made sure that I had the ingredients in right. But again, the anti-UV chemical in here tries to prevent damage from UV light, and the colorings, particularly violet number 2, color violet number 2, is part of what it caused this score to go up to 7. So like I said, this would probably have been number 1 in my list. In fact, it was coming out of the shaves, but at that point I had not looked up the ingredients and graded them according to the Skin Deep database. So it was a little disappointing that this one came out with such a high score in terms of the safety issue. Now, I really do love the scent on this Aqua Velva Musk. It's definitely the most masculine of the scents in the lineup, and I really wanted this to come out at number 1. But when I saw the Skin Deep database score, I had to knock it down a notch. Now, because it is a musky scent, it's not really good for the hot summer months, so I wouldn't recommend it for that. But I really do love the scent of this. Again, disappointed that the ingredients are not safer. Now, as you've probably guessed, coming in at number 1 is the Aqua Velva Classic Ice Blue. Now, I didn't think that this would end up in the top spot. You know, I think sometimes the things we see most commonly, we think, oh, okay, well, this one's not going to be the best. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the one we see around most often, which is kind of counterintuitive because that's probably why it is on store shelves, because people like it so much. Now, I'm not really sure which of these two are closest to the original scent of Aqua Velva. Douglas Smythe and Matt Prasarczyk go into a good deep dive of the history of Aqua Velva in an episode of I'd Lather Be Shaving. I'll put a link in the description below. You can hear much more about how this went from being a mouthwash to a aftershave. But again, I'm not sure which of these scents is closer to the original. But because you have to kind of go on chase hunts for these other versions of Aqua Velva, you would sometimes maybe assume, well, you know, maybe this one, just because it's the most common, might be the most enjoyable or the best of the products. Like when I first started posting these Aqua Velva shaves on Facebook, I had some people comment that they live in the US and can't find the musk. And I've been able to find it several places. Now, according to the Aqua Velva website, it's cool, refreshing, and luxurious. It leaves skin firmed, toned, and feeling great. Now, in Fragrantica, they classify this as an aromatic aquatic with woody, fresh, spicy, citrus, and green notes. Now, this has the exact same note lineup as does the Spanish version. You can see them listed here on the screen. But again, these smell different from each other in that this classic ice blue is much spicier and I think overall a stronger scent. But this one is much more refined and one I would prefer to wear as a fragrance. And even though those are the notes that you see listed for this aftershave, the Fragrantica users tend to report that the mint, lavender, and moss are the 3 notes that come through the strongest. Now, this one has the second best Skin Deep score of a 5. Again, the best one being the Ice Sport, and this coming in at 4, and this one coming in at 5 in terms of scores. So this one slightly edges out this one in terms of safety, but this one is still pretty safe compared to the high scores of 7 we get with 3 of these products. Now, as I said, this is sharper and spicier than the Spanish version. It does last longer, but it doesn't last as long as the musk, in my opinion. This is probably the longest lasting, but this one does have quite a bit of longevity, particularly compared to the Spanish one. Now, this one did have the most mentholated feel out of the 6. Again, you would think something with the name of ice would have, but this one was the one with the most mentholated feel. Now, also interestingly, this one had the fewest ingredients of all of those in the lineup. So safe score, fewer ingredients, longer lasting scent, the best mentholated feel. So you can see why this one's coming out top in my list. And, you know, to boot, a bonus, it's the one you see most common on US shelves. And it's usually priced pretty reasonably. So again, coming out on top at number 1, Aqua Velva Classic Ice Blue. Now, I've made a little table here to sort of hit the high points of this. I will put a link to a copy of this table so you can go look at it in your own time. But you can see here I highlighted the fact that 3 of these had a Skin Deep database score of 7, which put them more in, as far as I'm concerned, in a more unsafe categorization. But you have 2 that were safer, and then the Sensitive 5-in-1 Balm, they're kind of in the middle. And while I did love the scent on the Aqua Velva Musk. The Skin Deep score drove it down to number 2 for me. It would have been number 1 if it had safer ingredients. So I was completely wrong about the order I thought that I would find these in. Here's the order I thought they would be in, and that was even after I did the shaves. But when I looked into the ingredients, it ended up being something like this, which we've already gone through. I am having a giveaway for this Aqua Velva series. Now in the giveaway, I'm going to be giving away the Sensitive 5-in-1, the Musk, and I have a brand new bottle of this that's not been opened. I'll purchase a bottle of this one to send to you, and I've only used this just a bit, so I'll send out those 4 aftershaves. So to be entered in the giveaway, you need to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below about which one of these have you tried, which one is your favorite, which one's your least favorite. Include the hashtag AVMe, Aqua Velva Me, and that will enter you into a selection out of the comments. You also need to join the Take Care Men Facebook group and follow me on Instagram. And I'll be selecting a winner live on Instagram at 9 p.m. on July 6th. You don't have to be present in that live to win, but that is when I'll announce it. I'll also repeat the contest instructions down in the description. Now keep in mind, these are my preferences around the characteristics that I like in an aftershave. Your mileage may vary. Now, something I thought was interesting on the Aqua Velva website, that there are coupons available upon request. You have to call them, but you can see that in their frequently asked questions section where you can request coupons. I'm going to put some other links to Aqua Velva videos, to the 3 shave videos I did, but also other videos I find to be informative about Aqua Velva, as long as some links to other websites that I think give good information. So I really enjoyed doing this Aqua Velva lineup, and I appreciate those of you that have given comments and your input into this, and to my friends that have helped me get bottles of those that I couldn't get a hold of. So I hope you enjoyed this as well. I hope you found some use out of it. And until next time, take care, man. Are you ever trying to tell me how to say menthol stuff? I guess you're right. This one would be probably the most menthol.